Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Tonight is Wednesday, the 16th of January, 2019. And tonight's topic, Chinese gold demand is solid despite deteriorating economy. We're going to go through the recent numbers from the Shanghai Gold Exchange and take a look at how 2018 shaped up versus the prior years in terms of gold demand. We're also going to take a quick look at the Chinese economy, but first, let's take a look at the markets, gold, silver prices, equity markets, and then the cryptocurrencies. Now today, the Trump pump and the Powell put was on display again, with the Dow rising 141 points, up to 24,207. That's up 0.59%. NASDAQ also up, but only up 10 points to 7,034. It edged higher about 0.15%, and the S&P 500 also rose about 6 points to 2616, and that was up about 0.25%. Now, the Dow has risen since that fateful Christmas Eve plunge protection team meeting when the Dow was at 21,792. It has risen nearly 2,500 points, or up over 11% since then. That is the Trump pump and, of course, the Powell put, because not only did the plunge protection team meet, which comprises of the SEC, the head of the Treasury, Mnuchin, the Fed, and, of course, Powell has made some statements, and so have other Fed officials, that they're going to wait and see, and they're going to look like they're going to hold off on raising rates. That's been enough to help the stock market, and then of course adding in Donald Trump's pumps, you see the impact so far. Whether this will hold the rest of the year, I think, is a function of not necessarily the economy or necessarily earnings, but even if things remain flat with no real improvement or no real degradation, and the Fed holds off on interest rates and the plunge protection team makes sure to keep juice in the markets, they may be able to continue to boost this higher. They've been doing it for years. Remember, the stock market has been up threefold during the past 8-9 years, and the economy itself, the GDP, if you call that the economy, how they measure that, is only up 25%. So these markets are clearly on somewhat of air that is pumped in by the central banks. But as we see, gold didn't really do too well. Went down a little bit because the market went up and the safe haven bid somewhat got called off. This is surprising given what's happening in England. However, it's not really surprising because yesterday, when Theresa May's non-Brexit plan was rejected resoundingly, one would have thought that would have been chaos, but really what it did was it set the stage for today's no confidence vote, which surprisingly she passed, which seems to me that they're not really concerned about Brexit or her. They're concerned about not having Brexit, because she should have lost. If she would have lost her vote by such a wide margin, it was the largest loss for a prime minister in like 100 years, you would think that would mean no confidence. But a lot of the people who voted against the Brexit plan weren't all people who are Brexiters, people who want to leave. Some of them are for not leaving, and they figure that if they push this plan out and they say they don't want this plan, maybe there might be a delay, maybe there won't be Brexit, maybe it'll be a different deal. So it's not really the crisis that one might have thought, because yesterday the dollar did not go down it did not rise dramatically, nor did the pound really sell off, and that was pretty much the same today. And you didn't see the gold and silver safe haven bids that you saw when Brexit was first voted on and shocked the world with the result, with the majority of people living in the United Kingdom voting to leave. So now it seems like it's kind of an accepted thing that there might not even be a Brexit, and if there was, they're not as concerned about it. But a lot of smart money is on this is never going to happen, and this is just now 2.5 years, and they still can't figure out how to leave. But in any event, the gold price, not much of a reaction today. was up a bit, down a bit, ended down 0.2%. Silver, classic gold-silver ratio today. Gold goes down a little bit, silver goes down a little bit more. Silver down 6 cents today, or down 0.4%. That is very typical in this type of market. The gold-silver ratio climbs again. The one that the silver pumpers have been telling you for 6-7 years is unsustainable, as they've seen it rise from 50 to 1, 60 to 1, 70 to 1, 80 to 1, and right now it is closing in on 83 to 1. Okay, let's get into the cryptocurrencies. Let's see here. Let me get you the cryptocurrencies. All right, the crypto. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was the silver price. The silver price today was not the silver price. The U.S. Mint. The U.S. Mint today released some more numbers, and it looks like the U.S. Mint silver sales are pretty robust, because we now have 3.3 million American Silver Eagles sold through January 15th. Well, they didn't report today. They reported yesterday. Gold sales, not so much, 35,000 American Gold Eagles in the 1 ounce size. So 3.366 million so far, American Silver Eagles. That's not bad. We'll track that as we go along. By the way, I just noticed I was showing yesterday's gold and silver charts. Apologize for that. I'll quickly show you today's. Somehow it's defaulting to yesterday's. But again, it was really pretty much the same story, although the gold price did manage to go up a little bit. It went up $4, up 0.33%. And as you'll see here, silver went up less, only 0.7%, only up a penny. So it was the same story. Gold went up a little more than silver today, and gold went down a little less than silver did yesterday. And that would mean that the gold-silver ratio today, on the 16th, would have burst past that 83 to 1 ratio. And indeed it did. There you go. So yesterday it closed at about 82.89, and today it moved up to 83.06. Apologies for that. You got 2 for 1 today. Okay, let's stick to today. Now, China. We'll get to China in a second. There was news today about India buying oil from the United States. Now, a while back, well, actually, going back to 2014, I noted when the shale oil first came out that if shale oil actually took off, when they first started talking about it, that the U.S. might become a major oil producer and major oil exporter. And that would, in effect, take some of the reliance on the United States on Saudi Arabia to sell oil in dollars and to price it only in dollars. Hence the lesser reliance on the petrodollar. And that has indeed happened. The United States is now a bigger oil producer than Saudi Arabia and will soon be a larger oil exporter. So I was saying about 4 or 5 years ago that the petrodollar would become extinct, but not for the reasons of all the game over and game changer, China to crush the dollar nonsense, but that the petrodollar would outsee its usefulness because first of all, the reason that countries first decided that they would stick with the dollar after Bretton Woods in 1971, when the U.S. took the world off the gold standard or the dollar standard, because at that time, under the Bretton Woods agreements, the United States had guaranteed that if foreign central banks held dollars, they can bring them to the United States and get them exchanged for gold. And when Nixon went on TV in 1971 and said, no, you can't do that anymore, a lot of European countries who were the major world economic players other than the United States at the time, Asia was not as important in the grand scheme of things, they thought to themselves, well, why would we want dollars if they're not backed by gold? We might as well just use our own currencies. Well, that's when the United States, Kissinger, Nixon, strung together these petrodollar agreements, which required Saudi Arabia to price its oil and only take dollars for oil, thus creating an exchange for the United States agreeing to defend them, provide them with military hardware, and so on. That provided a rationale for Europeans to stick with dollars and continue to hold dollars, because they had to use dollars to buy oil. So instead of bringing them to the United States and getting them exchanged for gold, they would send them to Saudi Arabia and buy oil. Now, over time, what's happened, which makes the petrodollar less important, is Saudi Arabia is no longer the big kahuna in oil exports. There's oil in other parts of the world that you can get, and also, and now including the United States, but countries have been holding dollars now for 40, 45 years for reasons other than just to buy oil. So the reserves have been accumulated. The U.S. Treasury market has become very deep, very liquid, and the petrodollar itself is less important. And my point is that now with the United States selling massive amounts of oil to other countries, including China, oil, natural gas, and now even coal, that countries, if you need an underpinning for the petrodollar, well, countries are going to need to hold on to dollars to buy their energy from the United States in the form of oil and natural gas. And also there's other trade with the United States, and there's other reasons to hold the treasuries. But another deal today, and we've seen these deals, they keep piling on. Now India to buy oil from the United States announced today. India to buy $5 billion in oil, gas from the U.S. and spend $18 billion in defense. So you could see what's happening here. It's a kind of a reverse petrodollar with the Saudis, in that it's actually a better deal rather than relying on Saudi Arabia to produce the oil and make sure that it's bought in dollars and only priced in dollars. Instead, now what you have is Saudi Arabia is investing in the United States stock market. That's why you have Twitter and all these other companies where the Saudis invest in the United States. And now it's the same thing. The Saudis aren't buying oil from the U.S., but now it looks like India is going to be buying a lot of oil from the United States. Germany is going to be buying natural gas from the United States. The United States is going to be exporting coal. And India is going to be buying $18 billion in defense. So the idea of end of the petrodollar, that is I would say that's an antiquated concept. Saudi Arabia, that China is going to force them to accept the yuan. No such thing is going to happen. In fact, that was the underpinning for the gold-backed yuan game changer story, was that China was going to, quote, force Saudi Arabia to take yuan. And then what was going to happen was Saudi Arabia was going to say, I don't want no stinking yuan. Well, then China says, according to Jim Rickers, I remember he was saying as if it was a fact, well, they'll just walk over to the Shanghai Gold Exchange and exchange their yuan for gold. Wrongo star. That was never going to happen. There was never any announcement to that effect. And that gold could never leave China. So it was never it fits a narrative, you want to say, into the petrodollar, but that was never going to happen. That was never an arrangement, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen now, because the United States seems to be on much better terms today than it was a few years ago with Obama as president, because what did President Trump do? He got rid of the Iran deal. If anyone's following their relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran, you would know that Saudi Arabia hates Iran and Iran hates Saudi Arabia. And it looked like maybe under the Obama administration that the Obama administration was moving closer to Iran and away from Saudi Arabia. We might have lost, the United States might have lost Saudi Arabia as a partner. But right now, Saudi Arabia got away with killing that Khashoggi guy. The United States basically said, Trump said, we're not going to do anything about it. They're worth too much. And now Saudi Arabia is investing lots of money in the United States. So now the petrodollar is underpinned not only by Saudi oil, but also by U.S. oil. Is an opinion that most people don't share, just because they repeat and parrot the same thing they've been hearing for years about end of the petrodollar, game over and game changer. Now, let us move on to Moronica before we move on to our story about China. Uh-oh, we got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
Smaulgld. This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
Well, today's Moronica deals with none other than stretch Nancy Pelosi. Now, what did Nancy Pelosi do today? I'm not quite sure what the purpose of this maneuver today, but Donald Trump is set to give the State of the Union address. Now, the State of the Union address is required. The president is supposed to update the Congress on the State of the Union. And normally they would do that through, in the old days before television, the 50s and 60s, they would do that through a written notice to Congress. Now, Nancy Pelosi is saying, but ever since then, they've given a formal address. It gets televised. It's a big deal, the State of the Union. Nancy Pelosi today wrote a letter and said that she's asked President Trump to delay the annual State of the Union address to Congress because of the government shutdown. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me. It didn't make sense to many people scratching their heads, whatever they do when they don't understand something. People are asking, is there no State of the Union? What's the reason? And so I finally got a hold of the letter to find out what is she talking about. And this libertarian populism guy said, I don't get the point. And I thought, well, maybe the reason is that Pelosi doesn't want Trump to give the State of the Union because she knows she sucks at rebuttals. And she doesn't want to have another repeat of the Chuck and Nancy debacle. I mean, after the State of the Union, they usually pick a Democrat to, maybe it would be her, to give the counter to the State of the Union. Last year, it was Joe Kennedy Jr., if you remember the famous Spittle speech, where really bad optics. He was standing in front of a car, which reminded people of his uncle's mishap at Chappaquiddick. And then he supposedly had some type of, lipstick or whatever he had, but it was spittle on both sides of his mouth. Anyway, it's probably when the president is giving the State of the Union, he basically has the floor and he can say what he wants, and then they throw up somebody on a television in front of in a studio to rebut it. So I thought that was the reason that maybe she didn't want Trump to give the State of the Union. But actually what she said, and who knows what her reasonings are, in the letter, she said that the reason was she's got security concerns. Yeah. Sadly, given the security concerns, and unless government reopens this week, I suggest we work together to determine another suitable date after government is reopened for this address, or for you to consider delivering your State of the Union address in writing to Congress on January 29th. Now, she does not want to give Trump another platform to get up there and start talking about the wall and to start talking about how she and Chucky are stopping the wall, how they used to before the wall, stuff like that. I don't think she wants that. It's a big propaganda. It's what you call the bully pulpit. The president actually has, I mean, today it's Twitter, but since Teddy Roosevelt, they've used the term bully pulpit to mean that the president actually is the one who can get out there and get the most attention and make his case. It's much harder for others to make that case. And given the fact that there's a shutdown and there is a debate going on, Trump would have an ability to stand in front of the country and make his case once again. And she said she was citing security concerns, which is somewhat ironic because that's what this whole thing is about, security at the border. But we'll see what happens. I heard someone say today that if she's not going to open the Congress, there were two congressmen who actually used to be somehow involved in security, and they said, no, they would sweep the place and they would make sure that it was secure. I'm sure it's not about security. It's about Nancy Pelosi not wanting him to give that primetime speech. But someone was suggesting that he can produce his State of the Union in writing to Congress, but then have a rally somewhere else, which has nothing to do with Congress, that he can deliver the State of the Union there. And it would be even worse probably optically because they wouldn't even have the opportunity to rebut it in the normal course, because he'd do one of his rallies and have all his people there yelling, build that wall, or whatever they say. All right, let's move on now to China. First, I saw this very disturbing thing today. This Chinese company has a humiliating punishment for employees who fail to meet their targets. This isn't the first story. There's been reports of Chinese companies actually lining up the workers and smacking them in the face for not meeting their targets. This one shows punished Chinese employees forced to walk and crawl on the road because they failed to meet their targets. And then a person at the front of the crawl is holding the company flag, and these people are, as you can see, crawling. And again, this is kind of disturbing to me. It's just shocking to me that a lot of people that follow gold always cheering on China, gold back yuan, China to crush the dollar, game changer, Belt-in Road, all these things. The BRICS have had it. As if somehow the United States deserves to be destroyed by this. All right, but let's take a look now at Chinese demand. And I like to look at Chinese demand from two perspectives. One is the World Gold Council puts out some nice information about Chinese investment demand in the form of bars and rounds, and that's pretty robust. It's similar to the demand, a little lower than in India. Sometimes it's about the same. Both the Chinese and the Indians buy a lot of investment gold bars and also gold jewelry. Silver, not so much for the Chinese. The other thing I like to look at to gauge Chinese gold demand is the Shanghai Gold Exchange. That is a futures exchange. It's a regular exchange, but a lot of the contracts are physically settled, unlike the way they do it on the COMEX. And the way they do it is they're all in the Shanghai Gold Exchange, and the gold has to be in the system, and they just move the pallets around, and you could take it out, and that's a withdrawal. But then you have to have it reset to bring it back in. So a lot of gold actually does change hands physically and does get traded and does get pulled from the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And this are December numbers of withdrawals since 2008. I wouldn't say I was concerned about the 2018 December number. It's a little lower. In fact, it's the lowest since 2012. I don't know if that means much. It's still pretty high. 178 tons, not as high as the 236, but I don't think it presages anything. Although it's possible that due to deteriorating economic conditions, that maybe there's less gold trading. I don't think so. I think we would see that more in the jewelry investment or jewelry demand than you would in investment trading. A lot of people, it's when you have a deteriorating currency, that's not really the time to buy gold. In fact, it's hard to buy gold when that happens. And we see that in India from time to time. When the rupee gets clobbered, they can't buy as much gold because they don't have the requisite rupees to buy it. So the time to buy gold is when your currency is strong. And that's, in some respects, why you might say in the United States is the time now to buy, because the dollar is strong. You can't buy as much when the dollar is weaker. So let's take a look now how we finished the year. Let me just show you how the Shanghai Gold Exchange, however, has improved or grown over the last 10 years. You can see it started out in 2008 to 2012. It was growing, and it really took off 2013. These are months. And you could see some months almost 200 tons of gold withdrawn from the Shanghai Gold Exchange. You know, we get excited when Kazakhstan buys 4 tons of gold in a given month, or Russia might add 40 tons of gold. You know, the private demand is much bigger than the central bank demand. Everybody thinks of the central banks as being these behemoths, and they just so big and have so much gold. But again, if we look at, for example, imports into India, in a given year, they might import 900 tons, and the Central Bank of the Federation of Russia has imported 262 tons in 2018, 224 2017 from memory, 198 in 2016, I think 205 in 2015. But you see, those are in those 4 years, they pretty much, and they're the biggest central bank that's adding gold, just managed to pass 1 year's worth of Indian gold imports. But here you can see, again, this is another big example. A lot of this gold comes in through Hong Kong and then into or Shanghai ports, or comes from the 400 or so tons that the Chinese mine every year. I'm not quite sure the flows there. I don't know if there is that information available. Obviously, gold is fungible, but where it actually all comes from to be traded on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, I don't know. But I do know that Chinese do not allow the export of the gold, so you pretty much a one-way street. They mine 400, 450 tons a year. They import a certain amount from Hong Kong that they not that they report, Hong Kong reports it, and then they probably import gold through Shanghai and other ports of entry that we don't know about. So plenty of gold in China indeed. Now let's take a look before we get to your comments at the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Those are the monthly numbers. Really can't. Let's roll them up into annual numbers, and you can see here. So 2018 was better than last year, even though despite a slightly weaker December. 2015 was the biggest year, 2,596 tons. 2016, 1970. So it's been on a bit of an upswing the last 3 years, but not really. So really, from 2013 to 2018, pretty much around 2,000 tons, a little bit of a spike in 2015. But you can see the big increase since 2008 when you had only 543 tons withdrawn, and now we're moving on up to the east side. So definitely a big year again for the Chinese withdrawals. Now, one last thing here. Let me check here. I asked earlier in the day, some people had asked me about platinum, and I've done some research on platinum. All I'd have to do is update it. I just haven't updated it. And I asked a question today, I didn't check the results, whether you'd be interested in a live stream on platinum, given that platinum is, well, what's interesting about platinum is it is going down and has been going down, and platinum traditionally is far more expensive than palladium and is generally more expensive than gold. And what we're seeing now is palladium is now more expensive than gold, and gold is more expensive than platinum. I thought it was kind of interesting, and I was wondering if people were interested in understanding the platinum market. Well, looks like 39 people have voted on this. I think when I first looked at it, only like 15 people had voted on it, and most people weren't interested. In fact, this isn't that good. I'm going to show you the results. I'm not going to read them. I'm actually going to get them up here on the thing for you. Platinum. I would have thought more people would have been interested in platinum than are. But before we get to that poll, let me just go through this chart. The U.S. Mint makes platinum eagles. They just started making last year palladium eagles, but they don't sell that many of them. Clearly, if you're on the it's so rare and gold, you know, then you would think that platinum would be 10 times the price of gold. It's not. So that whole relative rarity argument that I constantly hear from the people pumping silver, I like silver, but not for that reason. You can see here, they don't make that many platinum eagles. 20,000, 30,000. Look at some of those years. There's nothing. These are non-existent. I think there's like 430,000 American platinum eagles ever made. Ever. And in 1 year, in I think 2016, the U.S. Mint sold like 800,000 1-ounce American gold eagles. Here, over 20 years, they sell 400,000 of things. Most of them, and that's the non-key date, 1998, when they sold 138,000. Look at some of those years. 2007, that's a rare coin. 4.67, even 20,000, 30,000. Not so much. All right, so here's the key. It's interesting because the fact that if you look at this poll, not many people care. Only 64% are interested in hearing a live stream about platinum. They'd rather hear about something else. Now, not to be crude to silver, but that's pretty much how most of the world looks at silver. They don't care. That's why it doesn't skyrocket in price. There's people that are interested in silver, but not too many. They just don't understand. And one day, yeah. And the people that are interested in platinum probably feel the same way. And yes, indeed, maybe platinum and silver will have their day and they will ride higher. But again, you need to know the dynamics of these metals and why they may or may not go higher. So it's interesting to see here, out of 40 people, a large number don't want to hear anything about it. And you would say, oh, that's because they don't want to hear you say anything about it. But I don't think so, because I look at the other polls and there's an interest in Smaulgld content. Doesn't seem to be that great of an interest. I might do it anyway, but there doesn't seem to be that great of an interest in platinum, even though platinum is rarer than gold. Platinum is 10 times rarer than gold and comes out of the ground at a rate 10 times less. And therefore, platinum should be $13,000. I saw it on the internet. I mean, that's basically, if you had platinum pumper channels, they'd be saying that stuff all day, every day, all the time. Platinum is so useful. We could not lead our lives without platinum. They are finding more uses for platinum every day. Platinum is the most dense metal on Earth, other than some platinum metal I never heard of. Okay, let's see what you guys think over in the comments. All right. Let's see who we got in the... I haven't even checked, but I know we haven't been cut off yet, which is absolutely amazing. I don't want to jinx myself, but let's go and see. Not too many. All right. MK Hearns. I heard a 2016 video that you did with Greg Hunter. It was about how little silver there is to go around. Great job, Lewis. I don't think I was ever on Greg Hunter. I've been on X22 maybe 4 or 5 times. I've been on SGT Report. I've been on Wall Street for Main Street. I've been on Future Money Trends, the Daily Coin, Silver Fortune. Been on a lot of them. Silver Doctors. Probably going to do another Silver Doctors soon. This time I hope it'll get published. I was talking to James Henry Anderson earlier today. Yeah, but that is the point. There is not a lot of silver to go around. And especially if people invested in it as a physical item. But here's the thing. They don't. I actually did some charts. I show them every now and then about if a small, like I think it's 1 to 3%, just of the Americans, of the workforce actually invested something like $15, $20 a month, a couple of coins a month as part of their savings plan, how it would just eat up 500 million ounces a year, and that would just throw off the whole dynamic, and there wouldn't be enough silver. And that's a very small percentage of the workforce, not even the population, a very small percentage buying very little of it. But they don't buy it, and that's what I don't think people understand, because when you're sitting there listening to some guy or woman telling you about silver, and you think, wow, the whole world is listening. Not the whole. So many of us are interested in silver. There's more people interested in vanilla, probably. I don't know. More people interested in something else. The silver channels are not, as a percentage of the population, they're not that great. And unlike the people who follow gold, probably, there's probably even fewer that follow gold, but I think the bigger money goes into gold. And I mentioned this, and somebody bristled at this. I said, if someone is really rich, they're not going to want to stockpile the amount of silver and pay the storage fees. And then they say, who pays storage fees? You got to take delivery. And I'm thinking, then they don't understand. If you have a few $100,000, a few $1 million worth of gold or silver, you don't stack that in your house. You stack it with a vaulting company, and you don't want to pay to have 3 pallets of silver. And you also are probably advised to buy gold because it stores its value better. So I think that a lot of people don't understand that. They just think that there's so many stackers out there, but they make up such a small percent of the population, and they don't buy that much. Look at the Silver Eagle sales. 15 million in a country of 330 million, and you know the 80-20 rule comes into effect, that very few, 20% are buying 80% of the Silver Eagles. So of that 15 million, there's probably, a few hundred people buying most of that. So there's not big demand for silver that people think that there is. And that's why the price is low. I mean, you can talk about most useful metal and couldn't lead your life without silver and so on. Yeah, that you're talking to a very small audience there. Look how small the Smaulgld audience is. But that's for a different reason. Okay. What other comments do we have? Tossing Molotovs. What happens when fracking starts taping off? Then we'll have to rely on the war dollar and invade other third world countries. Well, first of all, if you're following that, they just found another massive 3 times the size of the Bacon fields. So, Bakken, whatever it's called. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Again, a lot of channels, peak oil, fracking's going to run out in 2 minutes. They're all going to go bankrupt. They also just found a massive regular oil off the coast in the Gulf of Mexico. So the United States, and also the United States now, pipelines in place. I don't think you have to worry about that, at least for the next 10 years. Shark Air, she has security concerns. Perhaps we can build a wall around. Oh, we're talking about Pelosi. We can build a wall around her. Yes, indeed. We could build a wall around Nancy Pelosi. I'm surprised the Democrats went with that. It just shows you how entrenched the political powers are, because I guarantee you, if you took a vote amongst Democrat people, like people who are party members, people that vote Democrat, they would never pick Nancy Pelosi. This is all inside trading, or whatever you call it, politics amongst the people there. The same with the Republicans. They never would have picked Paul Ryan, but that's just how these things work. All right, let's see. DB Stupid, Laura Loomer trolling Nancy's lawn. Your thoughts? Yeah, I saw that. Laura Loomer, she also she attached herself to Twitter, trying to get her Twitter back. She's pretty effective. I mean, she's got a lot of courage. She also ran onto stage in New York City when they had there was some play, and of course in the play there's a person like Trump and they kill him, and she jumped on that stage. So she has, as they say in, I guess it's in New York, chutzpah. I don't know how effective that kind of stuff is, but it certainly gets some type of attention. All right. Pablo Pina. Hello, everyone. Hello, Pablo. Hola, amigo. ¿Qué tal? Buenas noches. No. Buenos de la verdad. Okay. Emily York, what is my favorite coin? It's hard to have a favorite. I know you like the kookaburras. I do like the Perthman stuff, but I don't like that on the back you get the queen, and I'm not against a lot of people are like really against the queen. I'm not against the queen. I just don't think that her face on the back of the coin, you lose some artwork there. But I prefer the koala. I like the Chinese pandas. I like the look of those. What I really like are the America the Beautiful coins, because they're big and you can see something on them. So I would pick one of those. The volcano one is nice. They're 5 ounce, but actually there's not a coin I don't like. I think they're all interesting to look at. My favorite is a 2008 kookaburra bird with a huge spider web. Now that's a nice one. Bob Smith, that's disappointing. I think platinum is going to surprise a lot of people, including gold and silver bugs. Still hope you occasionally cover the platinum market, though. What I was planning on doing, Bob, I had done some research a couple of years ago, pretty much a comprehensive report. I just need to update. I'll do it anyway. I don't want people to think that, again, that I'm pitching platinum or gold or silver or anything. But if you do want to buy gold or silver, again, you can go to the Smaulgld site. You can click on those links, Money Metals Exchange, SD Bullion, and Golden Eagle Coin, all good dealers. And if you do buy from those links, Smaulgld gets a small commission. So if you're going to buy, I'm not pitching that you do, not advising that you do, but asking if you are going to buy through any of those dealers anyway, you might as well do it through the Smaulgld site. And they sell platinum too. All right, tossing Molotovs. My problem with platinum is just buying a few coins might not be the best choice during resale. So if you do jump in both feet. Well, let me tell you a few things about platinum. They're not very good looking coins. Silver is a better looking metal. Silver is shinier. It's more reflective than platinum. Platinum's a little gray. And also, as you say, when you go to sell, they're not as liquid. They're not going to pay you as close to spot. And I think if you were to want to buy platinum, you would buy an ETF just to get the exposure to the price, so you can get in and out really quickly. Because it may spike and then it may go right back down. But if you have a mouse click, you can buy a platinum ETF and you can get rid of it as soon as you have it. Yep, there you go, DB Stupid. Hate the premiums on platinum resale price back to the dealer. Sucks as well. Yes. Bob Smith, I just found some platinum coins for just a $50 premium. Just need to look for it. I found mine on eBay. Yeah, but there you got to worry about whether you're getting actual real platinum. You have to have it tested. And yeah, and $50 is a steep premium on $800 spot price. That's right. All right. Zipper Fixer. That's how I found you. It was on one of those channels you mentioned. Yeah, those channels are good for that. That's for sure. I mean, no one would know. hear about Smaulgld unless a lot of people came through, either through SGT report or X22 or I am pretty sure. No, I've never been on Greg Hunter. Not been on Greg Hunter. Max Strong is here. Hello, Max. Ann is here. De La Ville, I haven't seen you in a while. You're here. That's good. Message held for review. I think I'll be able to show this. Emily has posted a link. Somehow they make you put those Freakonomics hypothesis. Let's see what she's saying here. That's the guy who wrote that book, Tipping Point, I believe. Or what is this? Oh, yeah, the U.S. has been at war 222 out of 239 years. In fact, I have a chart on that. I have something even better than that, and I wrote it before that, so I didn't get the idea from that. I think it was called I'm going to give you the link to that one right now. It was called the Last Silver Empire, I think. And Salivate Metal even. I think he covered this one, or he covered the first Silver Empire. Let me just see if I can get you that right now. The Last Silver Empire. There you go. I can give you the link to that one. I have a list of all the wars, and let's see here. The Last Silver Empire. Like the Roman Empire, the United States paid for its welfare warfare state by debasing its currency. Actually, I did a YouTube on this. When was this? This was January 2016, and I even have in there the silver content of the Roman denarius. I got my picture from Bretton Woods when I went up there in New Hampshire. And then I have, wow, this took a lot of work here. This is one of the best. Well, I'm going to give you the link to this guy right now. Then I have an appendix at the end. Look at all these wars, and I have the cost of the wars too. I don't know if I found the time to do this one, but please check this link out. There's bookmark this one because this has a lot of valuable information about the welfare warfare set. Here we go. The Last Silver Empire. That is United States. Gli Stati Uniti. Okay. You guys are still talking about that. Ann Holloman says, don't forget to like. Well, that's very kind of you. Only 9 likes. Yeah, but there's only 29 people watching. Okay. It's a good ratio. Yeah, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Okay, yes, it was the Daily Coin interview. Yes, MK Hearns. That was with Rory. Gonna do something again with him, and then Matt from Silver Fortune. Let's see, Binance spell check sometime. All right. DB stupid. I love that. I agree with the platinum ETF idea. If you want exposure to platinum, I doubt there will be a chance of physical platinum having a resale premium. Yeah, a lot of people are against that's paper gold and that's paper silver. Yeah, well, that's a what is it that most people who complain about the price of gold or silver or anything, if they want to complain about anything, is that it's fake or whatever. And the reason they're upset that the price of gold and silver are low is because they want fiat dollars. All right? Well, if you want fiat dollars and you think gold and silver are going to go higher, then why don't you buy the thing that's going to get you the most fiat dollars, which would be trading an ETF. But it's not real, okay? But then nor are the fiat dollars that you claim are worthless real either. So what's the problem? And that's why the money that goes into gold and silver today is in the form of ETFs. Why? Because it's easier to trade and it gets you where you want to be. It gets you your fiat dollars. Now, this is a point most overlooked. The reason you buy gold and silver, well, silver you buy, like if Emily likes kookaburras, you buy them for the beauty, you buy them because you're a collector, and they might be worth something. They're not a good investment to go lugging down back and forth to the coin store. You buy them to have. They're nice. They're beautiful. Same with jewelry. That's why gold jewelry is sold the most. That is where the biggest demand for gold is. It's not for bars. Now, bars for gold are probably a better investment because you pay a larger premium. You pay a larger amount of money to buy a big bar. You pay less in storage, and you do have insurance when you buy a gold or silver coins. But how much insurance do you need to hold? If you're looking to get rich, you don't want to buy a lot of insurance. That's foolish. What you're looking to do is you're looking to make as much fiat money as you can. And then if you want to put that into collecting silver coins or gold coins, if you're lucky enough, then you do that. Okay. The silver maples are nice. I do like those. You know which one I really like is the, because I like the Buffalo nickel. I like the, I think in 2000, the U.S. Mint did a Buffalo silver commemorative, but it's like in a 1 ounce size. So it's really cool. Redo the silver empires. What does that mean? Oh, you mean go do those online? Yeah, well, it takes a long time to go through those articles, but there's so much information. I guess there's a lot, you know, if you go through the Smaulgld site and just plow through the articles, there's some really good ones there. I would like to do again would be the dark side of the cashless society. There's one in the year in which the United States used 550 million ounces of silver to mint silver coins. Think about that one. When the U.S. Mint sells you 47 million American silver eagles in 2015, that's a record year, right? But in 1964, they used 550 million ounces to make ordinary everyday coins in the forms of silver dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Yeah, a lot of them should be worth going back and look. Oh, yes, the Mercury dime. I do like that. And you know what else, MK Harness? They made a gold Mercury dime. I almost bought one. It was like $140, $50 in the USA. It looks kind of cool. They also made the, they make a gold buffalo. It looks like a buffalo. That's a bullion coin. Looks like a buffalo nickel. But the Mercury dime they made in gold, but it's about the same size as a dime, and it has the same front and the same back. DB Stupid well said, know how much insurance you need, no need to be overinsured. Right, unless, but there's never probably, if you're a collector, then there's probably no limit to the coins you can have if you're interested in doing that. Or you're interested in car collecting, you know, you can never have, when you're collecting, you like to collect, people like to collect sets. They collect a whole set. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to have all the Franklin half dollars or all the whatever. But that's different. That's not the same as I'm going to be rich and I got to keep stacking. I mean, the concept of stacking is almost foolish because you get to a point where, what are you going to have, like 50 monster boxes in your house? Well, you can never have enough. I mean, I don't know what people do. They just keep stacking it, and then it's dead money, especially if you're just, there's nothing to look at. Just buying a bunch of bars and stacking them up. I don't know. To each his own. All this talk is making me want to pull out coins and admire them. Yes, I would agree. I think it's nice to look at them, and I think that is so overlooked in the when people talk about gold and silver. And, well, it's overlooked in these doom and gloom and these dollar collapse. All they're talking about is acquiring silver. They don't even look at it. They're just interested in it as a, I don't know. It's almost like a cult behavior. You have to stack, and you don't necessarily have to look. You just want to get the cheapest, the lowest premium. And again, if the idea is so that you can eventually sell it and convert it into fiat, why would you do that? You can make fiat in the stock market. You can make fiat in many places. Having bars sent here and stacking them up, you're going to get rich doing that. And you can't really, when people say they're going to barter with silver, I don't think you can. I don't think you can go around with a bar. You've seen Mark Dice standing out there in front of a coin store asking people whether they want a chocolate bar or a bar, and what do? I'll take the chocolate, please. Okay. Let's see. What else? I gotta stop saying let's see. DB Stupid, the last 100 years has said that stocks and land have been far better than gold and silver, but I think holding a hedge is wise. Absolutely. The thing that happens is that people become enamored with a particular asset. There are people who are real estate fanatics, there's stock jockeys, they only buy stocks, there's gold bugs, there's silver bugs, and their thinking gets warped because they just repeat everything. They find a new use for silver. Then in their mind, silver set to skyrocket. Why? They're going to put like a nanoparticles of silver into yoga pants. That's not going to do anything for silver demand or the price of silver, but people get excited about that. Why? Because their mind is on silver. They have silver derangement syndrome or gold derangement syndrome. Let's see. What else have we got here? Do you like proof coins? Yeah, I used to think that proof coins were the most valuable thing ever. I thought they were perfect. But actually, they're not. I was surprised to see that some proof coins, they're more plentiful than I thought. They make them on purpose. But I really appreciate the look of a proof coin. And I didn't realize that they're not perfect coins. They're just all shined up. I've seen the videos on how they make them. They're very nice looking. Shark, I thought he'd pay a lot less. I was surprised. DB Stupid, on the day you had to turn in your double eagle for paper, if you had bought the Dow, you'd be up over 2,500%. Yep. Jack AG. Hello, Jack. Hope you're not just joining us. Think about the Pokemon card worth 100,000. Would you take a Pokemon card from a guy on the street or the chocolate? Depends if I was hungry or not. You know, the chocolate's always tempting. You're out walking around. You don't expect somebody to push a gold bar or silver bar into your nose. I think the guy... First of all, the other thing about that is, even if you had any awareness about gold or silver, you think the guy... You wouldn't believe him. And so you just take the chocolate anyway. That's what I would do. I would want to take gold or silver from someone on the street. They maybe stole it. Who knows? All right, everyone. Unless you got any more questions or comments, I'm going to... Well, we're going to keep this under an hour. That's pretty cool. All right. I'll give you 10 seconds. See if there's anything else that comes up. Ah, there you go. Depends on the chocolate. Thanks, Pablo. Okay. 4, 3, 2, 1. Game over. Good night.